What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys a Week 5 match for aABL Season 5 in the Magma League, taking on Ampmann and the Blitza Berlin. It's looking a lot less of a lopsided matchup just based on getting crushed by Shuckle King last week. This is a very important match to win. We're still in the depths of playing people in our conference, and beating the people below us, which is literally everyone except for Shuckle King, is super duper important if we want to start clinching a playoff spot earlier. So yeah, it's really important that we get to at least 6 wins, because I think 6 is probably going to be the cutoff in the conference for playoffs. 7 would probably be ideal because that would guarantee us playoffs. I'm not sure if that's super duper realistic. We'll sort of see. We need 4 wins to get there in our last 6 weeks. So we'll see about that. There's a couple matches here that I'm fairly confident I can win, and a couple where I'm a little bit less confident, but I could definitely see myself going 8-2 or 9-1 with the rest of my record as well. 7 is probably a little bit conservative. Anyways, let's get into Ampmann's team here. So he's got the potentially Z Tornadus-T, Tangrowth, Primarina, Jolteon, Mesprit, Mismagius, Flareon, Mega Tyranitar, Z Garchomp, Toxicroak, Durant, and Z Togedemaru. I wasn't expecting the Flareon, the Durant, or the Togedemaru, although I was sort of iffy on the Durant and the Flareon. I was actually very much expecting the Garchomp, which didn't show up. I was also very much expecting the Tangrowth that didn't show up, because as of this game I had Triple Grass, which Tangrowth kind of just sits on, and also Triple Water, which Tangrowth kind of just sits on. So it might have been that Megazord X was too big of a threat. I'm definitely expecting an Assault Vest user of some kind. I figured that was probably the best bet to handle my Keldeo, is either an Assault Vest Torn T or an Assault Vest Primarina. Because the Tangrowth isn't here, it's probably one of them designed to beat my Keldeo. Otherwise, Keldeo really threatens the Mega Tyranitar here. And no Garchomp to revenge kill my Mega Charizard X is a little bit sketchy to me, so I'm not sure if something might be scarfed. Probably the Mismagius is scarfed, if anything, and it probably has Power Gem, I would imagine, to deal with Zapdos and Charizard X. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Preview. If you haven't seen the team builder, you should check it out, but I'll recap the team a little bit here. I'm going for a Hazard Stack game. I've got Rocks on my Nidoking and Spikes on my Ferrothorn. The only removal that Ampmann has is Tornadus-T, so it's fairly abusable. Obviously, with Torn T and double Levitators in the Mesprit and the Mismagius, Spikes do a lot less to this team early on, but Rocks are still really, really important. I was ending up going with Spikes because just the combo of a layer of Spike plus a layer of Rocks, Rocks plus a layer of Spike was just really clutch in handling a lot of roles against this team in particular. Damages the Flareon and the Togedemaru enough. The Spikes it's really important to get up Spikes against this team. Less so than Rocks, just because the only things weak to Rocks are Flareon and Torn T, and Flareon didn't even show up. So it's obviously important to get damage on the Torn as much as I can, but only so much. So I am just going to lead off with my Zard X. I only needed to keep it healthy to live a hit from the Garchomp, which is what all my defensive investment is there for. I didn't really recap the rest of the team, but that's fine. It's really defensive Zard X for the Garchomp, just in case I wanted to revenge a Dragon Dance variant. I'm not a Dragon Dance variant, I'm a Will-O-Wisp variant with Roost, Thunder Punch, and Dragon Claw. So I'm just going to lead off with the Zard X, as he's going to lead with the Mesprit, and I figure this is probably a good lead on his part, just to get up Rocks. He's actually just going to click Toxic the first turn, as I'm just going to outright Dragon Claw him. We see that we're faster, which means I'm not running any speed investment, so this is not a very speedy Mesprit, but it also looks to be offensive. It's like max HP at the very least, because it doesn't have any physical defense investment that I can see. Based on the damage, it should have done a lot less, because I'm not really an offensive Zard X, but Zard X has a lot of power. That's why I've been running bulky Zard X a lot this season. Like, the games that I've been bringing Zard X to, it hasn't been like max attack or anything, because it can kind of just be bulky to take more hits and then get a lot of damage off, rather than be max attack, because it doesn't really need it with Tough Claws, honestly. But we're going to take the Toxic. That's fine by me. Toxic obviously was there for a more offensive Zard X. I could be Heal Bell Yancey. He doesn't know if I'm Heal Bell Yancey or not, but I'm just going to continuously go for damage on the Mesprit. And actually, turn 2, I go for the Will-O-Wisp here, predicting a potential switch in from the Primarina or something along those lines on my Dragon Claw, or at the very least just negating the leftovers healing from the Mesprit as he throws off a Future Sight. So I have to plan around the Future Sight, either letting my Zardex die to it or letting my Ferrothorn come in. As he's going to set up the rocks as I go for more damage. And then I'm going to go for more damage. I'm going to go for another Dragon Claw just to weaken this as much as I possibly can as he U-turns out. So he shows us the entire set there as he U-turns into the Jolteon. And we're gonna die to Poison plus the Future Sight. So it's pretty much ideal because it means that I get to get in my Nidoking on the Jolteon here and get up rocks of my own. The Mesprit's fairly crippled, and rocks are going to be really helpful against the Torn. It's decent chip against the Mismagius to put it in range of some stuff. Decent chip against the Primarina as well. It'll be chipping the Jolteon every time it comes in. I need the T-Tar a little bit weakened. Earth Power will two-shot it from Nidoking if it's the set that I'm expecting, which is more of a bulky Mega T-Tar. I don't really see a reason for it to be I'm scared of a Dragon Dance variant in this game just because of what I have left. And I don't have my Will-O-Wisper anymore, but I'm also a lot safer against a Dragon Dance variant with what I've got remaining on my team, and there's a potential for my Scarf of Bombstone to still outspeed it. So either way, Nidoking gets to come in here. This Jolteon can't kill me with HP Ice even if he's Choice Specs, so I'm just going to set my rocks in his face as he's actually going to double into the Mesprit there, potentially predicting a Scarf on me and going for Earth Power. I mean, Sludge Wave would have honestly been fairly okay, although it does bait in the Mismagius, which I'm really scared about this Mismagius. I'm not sure what sort of set it might want to be, but our rocks are up, and then my Nidoking, I know I'm going to outspeed this for sure, so I just get to claim one. Sludge Wave was, again, the safest play. I could have clicked Ice Beam there for sure, but Sludge Wave would have covered a Jolteon switch in a little bit better. The Torn came in, and I was like, okay, this Torn came in a little bit too quickly here. There were a couple other things he could have brought in there. He could have brought in the Primarina. I'm expecting something to be Assault Vest, so I thought the Primarina might be Assault Vest. The T-Tar could have come in because I know it lives in Earth Power, and it could have set up or something, or it could have gone for EQ. But the Torn came in, and I'm like, all right, Hurricane isn't killing me from offensive, so... And that's the strongest thing it has to kill me. So this definitely has to be a Z move of some kind. Whether it's Icium or Flyinium, I'm not sure. If it was Icium, I was fine just sacking my Zapdos here. Zapdos doesn't do all that much for the team later on in the game here. But I knew that I tanked Supersonic Sky Strike after Rocks anyways. So it was pretty nonchalant switching to the Zapdos here. I really have no reason to not just bring in the Zapdos, and I live a Hurricane from full, obviously, as well, so I get to roost up here, and then I'm going to be sitting at a really comfortable amount of HP, almost all the way back to full, and we burn the Z move. I was really scared about a nasty plot Mismagius, but it's not really going to be able to 1v1 my Zapdos all that well. The fact that this +2 now is a little bit scary, but it does have to be timid if it wants to outrun my Zard X. And so I think that that's the case. Basically, seeing that this is a Nasty Plot variant now, I don't really expect the Jolteon to be Scarf. It doesn't make all that much sense. The Torn, we've confirmed, is not Scarf. So the only possible Scarfer remaining on this team is Primarina. And I'm a lot less scared of a Scarf Primarina over an Assault Vest or a Specs variant. So I'm just going to go for the roll here. This is a roll for the Power Gem to kill me, because I'm just max HP. I'm not running any bulk besides HP. So it's 102 is the max roll. So somewhere in between there, and he's actually going to get a lower mid-roll and get the 98% there. Wasn't a huge deal to me because I do have Scarf of Bombstone in the back, and I was planning on sacking the Zapdos after this turn anyway, so we do sack it to the Jolteon. I could have gone into something else, but it wasn't really worth my time. I'm going to bring in the Pharaoh here, and I'm just going to go for a hard Toxic, I believe, on the Volt Switch. Based on the Volt Switch damage, we actually see that that's modest Zap Plate damage. Some sort of boosting item. I was initially thinking it might be Expert Belt, but we saw the super hidden power is super effective against the Zapdos, so I felt safe bringing the Ferrothorn on it because I know it's not HP Fire and it's HP Ice. I do go for the Raw Toxic, and we catch the Torn coming in. That's kind of what I thought might happen. I wasn't entirely sure. I know I can take this Torn on with my Aqua Berry. I live a Heat Wave from this for sure if it's got it. If he's got Taunt, then that's maybe a little bit worse of a scenario because I do want to get a Spike up. The Torn's I've killed both the Levitators now, so Spike is fairly effective at just chipping down this Jolteon over and over and over again. I can't give it a Volt Absorb anymore because my Zapdos is dead anyways, so it can't really heal. And then a Spike will be really helpful at chipping down the Primarina and the T-Tar still. So I do want to get a Spike up, and that is what I'm going to do right here, I believe. On the Torn, I just got up a Spike as he actually doubles into the Jolteon, predicting something coming in on the Hurricane or the Heat Wave, possibly the Diancie, and he just wanted to get some momentum, I'm not sure. But he's going to Volt Switch this turn as I go for a knockoff. Yeah, and so we catch the Torn. It's about what I expected. It's a very offensive Tornadus. It doesn't have a ton of bulk on it. It's got a little bit, but not a ton of bulk on it. It's probably speed creeping my Persian, which I did confirm after the game. This is speed creeping my Persian. Because the Jolteon is shown modest, it's actually not speed creeping Persian, and my Abomasnow should outspeed it, actually, because I'm speed tying a Scarf Permarina, which means I hit in between Persian and Tornadus speeds. That's kind of where that's sitting right there. So that's sort of what's going on there. Ferrothorn, I still live a Heat Wave from this range, so I'm actually just going to spike up again. It's a little bit free. I'm sort of suspecting this might not have Defog. And then here, I kind of make a misplay. So I actually went for, I can't remember what I went for here. If it was another spike or what it was. I think it actually was another, I can't remember. But he's just going to Defog in my face as I go for a Toxic. So I tried catching like a Jolteon coming in or something on this Torn pivoting out. A knockoff would have actually potentially killed this. It's sitting at 18.8. We saw the roll earlier was 18.8 that I got against him. And that looked to be one of the lower rolls. Let me just pull up the calc here on my other screen. The Torn isn't running all that much HP, but I'll just throw in like 100 EVs just in case. It's not going to be that much. I know it's a very offensive Z-move Torn, but let's just throw in 64. Say it's 64. So a mid-roll-ish from my Ferrothorn knockoff would have killed this Tornadus, and then puts my Nidoking in a really solid position. Because at that point, he either has to show that he's AV on the Permarina. He has to get damage. First of all, he has to get damage off with the Jolteon against my Nidoking before attacking me with either Permarina or T-Tar, unless it's Scarf Permarina. And so that would have put Nidoking in a really solid spot. Obviously, I wouldn't have hazards up, but what he's going to do here is actually just pivot out and not let me kill him. And he's going to pivot into Jolteon. So I am just going to go for a Spike again, because it's really helpful for me to have the Spike against stuff. And then here, I'm going to go for the Toxic, I believe, on the Jolteon as he clicked Heal Bell. So he shows off the Heal Bell. Obviously, we know he's not locked into anything because he's switched moves now, but the Heal Bell on the Torn is pretty I'd really rather not let this Torn be as healthy as it is, but well, it's not that healthy, but it will be more healthy when it comes back in. So obviously, I'm just going to end up sacking off my Ferrothorn here. The Fold Switch is going to do enough to me because it's modest boosting. So Zap, I'm pretty sure it's Zap Plate. I'm not entirely sure what the other item is, but he's going to go into Torn, and I actually make a misclick, and I go to my Abomasnow here. So he could outspeed me and just one-shot me with Heat Wave. I haven't confirmed if it's outspeeding me or not, but I'm suspecting that it's outspeeding me. We've actually seen the entire moveset, and so I could have just gone into Diancie, set up a Calm Mind, and put myself in a position where Diancie actually might just win the game, because I am Double Dance Diancie with Calm Mind Rock Polish. And even if he clicks Defog, I could have just Calm Minded probably twice, or Calm Minded once and Rock Polished once, and put myself in a really solid position to just outspeed the Jolteon, outspeed this Torn, outspeed the T-Tar, and outspeed the Permarina. At the very least get damage off on things, but I figured Permarina was probably going to revenge the Diancie either way, and I needed to keep Abomasnow alive for a lot of things. So it was kind of a misplay on my part. It wasn't a misclick. I did intentionally click Abomasnow, but it was a misplay on my part doing that instead of just going Diancie. So instead I'm just going to double into the Diancie, as he's actually going to be threatened out a little bit and go into Jolteon. I'm not entirely sure what his plan was there, but I do get in my Diancie, and I'm just going to go for a raw Moonblast here. Unfortunately, this Jolteon is going to get off some decent chip against me, but I'm going to be able to see that this Permarina is not actually Assault Vest. So it's really helpful that I got the chip against the Permarina with the Spike and the Hail, actually, because it means that Moonblast is potentially a 3-shot. I get the special attack drop. It's not going to matter all that much. I have no idea if this is Specs damage or not based on the Sparkling Aria. It would have killed me either way. Even without the special attack drop, it would have killed me. It's interesting to note that I was faster. I was running a lot of speed on my DNC, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do there. I was outspeeding Jolteon at +2, so I was actually running quite a lot of speed on my DNC. So this probably means it was like max HP, max special attack. I gathered it was about max HP based on the damage I did against it, but I wasn't sure about the special attack investment there. This being weakened is really solid. Really solid. It means I don't have to worry about clicking Ice Punch with Abomasnow anymore, because if the Permarina does switch into Ice Punch or Blizzard or something like that, then I can two-shot it for sure. And I was really worried about having to lock into Woodhammer against the Primarina and the T-Tar, because the Torn was going to live, and Torn's going to be able to pivot out again, and it's going to be a solid amount of HP, unfortunately. So I've got one play here, and it's basically to go into my Nidoking and just kind of attack. So I get to claim one, honestly, with Sludge Wave. Earth Power would have been also okay for the Tyranitar, and then he's going to miss a Hurricane with Torn, and I'm just going to kill it. So we talked through this play a little bit in DMs, because initially we thought that the Hurricane miss might have mattered, but after theory modding a little bit, we decided it definitely was not going to matter. In fact, the decision to go into Tornadus there, rather than Jolteon and just click HP Ice, is what we determined kind of ended up being a larger factor than that. Just because I am Scarf Abomasnow, and because he's Modest Jolteon and wouldn't outspeed my Abomasnow, that's kind of what ended up happening. Because Jolteon is going to come out here, and unfortunately for him, I'm a really healthy Nidoking. I chew an HP Ice from this. I already know the HP Ice isn't boosted, so I definitely get to kill this Jolteon with my Nidoking and get damage off against the T-Tar, which is kind of ideal for my Nidoking set. So I do just get to kill the Jolteon. I could have also Sludge Waved, but Earth Power was just better if he did want to double into the Tar. Probably not, given I had a Spike Up and whatnot, but there you go. And the T-Tar is going to Mega Evolve. It shows to be probably max HP-ish, and he's just going to go for the Fire Punch. Unfortunately for him, this game is now over. My Woodhammer is able to kill this. Earthquake was a roll. Ice Punch was not killing it. Blizzard wasn't killing it. But Woodhammer was enough there to get rid of the Tar. So we end up taking the win 1-0. Again, like I mentioned, the sacking of the Tornadus is what ended up causing Ampmann to lose this game, in my opinion, personally, and we did talk through it. Just because I think if Tornadus is alive, so let's say he just goes Jolteon, or just outright goes, he could also outright have just gone T-Tar there, and that would have been a fine play, because he would have killed my Nidoking with Earthquake. Assuming he had Earthquake, he would have killed my Nidoking with Earthquake. He lives any hit from Life Orb Nidoking. Obviously, we saw that he chewed that Earth Power, not as well as he probably would have hoped. I mean, it was two-shotting max HP Megatar, especially after the Spike. It was just obliterating it, but it was two-shotting it without the Spike regardless. Yeah, so the decision to go Torn there and try and go for damage against the Nidoking is what ended up being the problem there, just because Torn would have outsped my Scarf Abomasnow and been able to Heat Wave it, and unfortunately for him, the Jolteon was not taking a Woodhammer, just like T-Tar wasn't taking a Woodhammer. T-Tar was taking about 50 from Woodhammer, so I needed the chip from the Nidoking against it to be able to kill it with the Abomasnow, otherwise Fire Punch would have just blown me back. So there were definitely ways that I lost this game, but sacking the Tornadus there just ended up letting me clean up. So Nidoking ended up getting 4 kills, I believe, this game as well. It killed Mesprit, Jolteon, Torn, and Primarina. So Nidoking is up to 10 kills now as we're halfway through the season. It might be a 20 kill mon for the season. I'm not entirely sure. It's just something about Nidoking just kind of baffles people in this league. You know, last season it was my kill leader as well, and this season's already up to 10 kills halfway through the season. Just people don't have switch-ins to Life Orb Nidoking. It's just super strong. So we'll see if people end up bringing more checks to it in the future or not, but that's kind of what it is there. Excuse me. Next week we take on Joe Pick and the Texas Aggies. As we move to 4-1 plus 3, Joe Pick is 5-0 plus 10 or something in the other conference. This is another out-of-conference matchup. It's going to be a really tough one. He's got Veil offense, which is really hard to deal with, especially with my team, because my team doesn't deal very well with his offense, let alone his defense. So we'll see about that one. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to be the best matchup in terms of how I want to play it out. But we do have our Xatu trade active next week, so Gourgeist is no longer on the team and we have Xatu instead. I'm not sure if that'll even affect that matchup at all, but it could be something that might play into it. That's going to be for me, guys, and I will catch you guys for our Week 6 match.